Theodore Ted Robert, born in Burlington in 1946, experienced a complex family history. His mother, Eleanor Louise Cowell, conceived him in mysterious circumstances, attributing paternity to a mysterious sailor named Jack Worthington. Louise, the mother, concealed her parental identity, raising Ted with his grandparents as their son to shield him from trauma. Ted spent his early years in Philadelphia with his maternal grandparents, Samuel and Eleanor Cowell, believing them to be his biological parents, while his mother saw herself as his sister. Meanwhile, he harbored admiration for his grandfather, Samuel Cowell, depicted as a racist tyrant, contributing to a challenging family environment with episodes of violence that Ted witnessed daily, growing up as a violent man. Ted later discovered the truth about his family, leaving him deeply scarred and traumatized. In 1950, his mother changed the surname from Cowell to Nelson and moved to Tacoma with Ted. In 1951, she married Johnny Culpepper Bundy, a hospital cook, officially adopting Ted. The Bundy family had 4 more children, but Ted remained distant from Johnny, complaining about his family situation. Despite Johnny's attention, Ted kept his distance. His adolescence was marked by shyness and withdrawal, experiencing bullying both at school and in the Boy Scouts. The complex family dynamics and traumatic experiences contributed to the formation of Ted Bundy's personality, foreshadowing the events related to his crimes. Ted Bundy's adolescence marked a transformative period, transitioning from a bullying victim to a perpetrator, engaging in thefts and brawls. Despite his interest in studies, politics, and skiing, he isolated himself from the community and remained unemployed due to his lack of dedication to work. In 1967, he attempted to establish a relationship with Stephanie Brooks, but shortly after, she left him, instilling in Ted a sense of frustration and vengeance. The discovery of his true origins further exacerbated his precarious situation. In 1969, his depression began to subside when he returned to university, enrolling in psychology and law courses. Bundy joined the Republican Party, starting a political career, and entered into a relationship with Elizabeth Klopfer. Later, Ted was praised as a hero for rescuing a child, a move that brought him back together with his ex-girlfriend. However, this was just one of Ted's twisted plans. He did it to appear changed in the eyes of his ex, and then left her, seeking revenge for her previous abandonment. Ted Bundy's gruesome criminal saga began on January 4, 1974, when he committed his first attempted murder by brutally attacking 18-year-old Johnny Lenz in her bed. Using a metal rod, he beat and assaulted her. Despite the severe injuries, Johnny survived, but this was only the beginning of a long series of atrocities. On January 5, 1974, Johnny Lenz's roommates broke into her apartment, concerned about her prolonged silence. They found Johnny in the bedroom, severely injured and a victim of violence by Ted Bundy. Fortunately, she recovered from the coma into which she had fallen, but she would be one of the few victims to escape Bundy's fury. The following month, Linda Ann Healy mysteriously disappeared from her home, followed by at least 5 more girls. On June 17, 1974, the body of Brenda Carol Ball was found, and 2 months later, the remains of 2 girls who disappeared on July 14th from Lake Sammamish, Janice Ott and Denise Naslund, were discovered. Janice Graham's testimony emerged, recounting to the police how she was lured by a young man named Ted, who pretended to be injured, asking for help loading a sailboat onto his car. Fortunately, Janice refused the offer, avoiding death. Theodore Ted Roberts' profile appeared in newspapers, and various individuals, including Anne Rule and Elizabeth Klopfer, pointed to Ted as a possible suspect. Before the police could act, Bundy left Seattle and moved to Utah. On October 18, 1974, 17-year-old Melissa Smith disappeared, and she was found raped and sodomized on October 27th near Salt Lake City. On October 31st, Bundy made his first mistake, attempting to abduct Carol DeRonch by posing as a police officer. After a struggle, Carol managed to escape and reported the incident to the police. A few hours later, Debbie Kent disappeared and was never found. Raylan Shepard, a teacher, testified that she had been approached by a man posing as a police officer, but she had refused to follow him. Bundy later moved to Colorado, where at least 4 women disappeared between January and April 1975. Luck favored investigators on August 16th of the same year, when Officer Bob Hayward stopped a Volkswagen Beetle without lights. The car belonged to Bundy, and inside, a metal rod, a ski mask, an ice pick, and handcuffs were found. Bundy was arrested on suspicion of being a thief. However, after being recognized by Raylan Shepard, he managed to escape by jumping out of a courthouse window. But he didn't stop there. On January 14th, 1978, Bundy committed a series of murders in Tallahassee, Florida, at the Chi Omega sorority house. He killed Lisa Levy and Margaret Bowman, severely injuring Kathy Kleiner DeShields and Karen Chandler. On the same night, he attacked Cheryl Thomas in a nearby apartment, leaving her with severe injuries that ended her dance career. Most of his victims were lured near higher education institutions or university residences, using a tactic involving the use of a cast on his arm. This strategy, later made famous by the cinematic portrayal of the Buffalo Bill skinning maniac in The Silence of the Lambs, was already present in Tim Krabbe's novel The Golden Egg and George Sluice's Dutch thriller The Vanishing. Once inside Bundy's Volkswagen Beetle, the unfortunate young women realized too late that the passenger door lacked a handle and crank to lower the window, leaving them trapped in the vehicle. Taken to isolated locations, they endured physical violence and were killed by strangulation or the use of blunt objects. In some cases, the bodies suffered sexual abuse, even days after death, until decomposition advanced. In at least 4 instances, victims were decapitated post-mortem. In other instances, Bundy approached victims by pretending to be a police officer. On one occasion, he secretly entered a female dormitory room, brutally attacking 2 students with a club and injuring a third. Almost all victims were college students, slender with long dark hair, often with a center part. Some theorize that Bundy sought girls resembling his ex-girlfriend as a sort of symbolic punishment for the woman who had rejected him. Finally, on February 9th, 1978, the parents of 12-year-old Kimberly Leach reported her disappearance, and her body was found 8 weeks later in a deteriorated state in a park. 2 witnesses noted Bundy's car license plate, leading to his identification and charges. In 1979, in Florida, the trial followed by worldwide media took place. Bundy defended himself and, thanks to his persuasive skills, managed to postpone his death sentence 3 times. Meanwhile, he married Carol Ann Boone during the trial and, despite his incarceration, had a daughter with her, Rose, whose whereabouts later became unknown. While in prison, he managed to escape twice. The first time, he lost 11 kilograms to fit through a tight hole in the ceiling that he had created. Despite his ingenuity, he was captured a few days later. The second time, he stole a janitor's uniform and, wearing it, walked out through the main door without raising suspicion. In the end, he could not escape again and remained in prison until the moment of the electric chair, which ended his life with a 2000-volt shock.